For centuries, the image of Jesus Christ has been shaped by cultural, religious, and artistic influences, resulting in portraits that vary dramatically across time and place. When exploring the early depictions of Jesus in Egypt and Nubia, the question arises, how did people in these regions envision the face of Christ? And what do those representations reveal about the intersection of faith, identity, and art? To answer this, we must first step back into the early centuries of Christianity's spread into Africa. Christianity arrived in Egypt within decades of Christ's death, and by the 3rd and 4th centuries, it had taken root in the Nile Valley, including the lands of Nubia further south. The Coptic Church in Egypt, with its ancient ties and unique traditions, became one of the most prominent Christian communities outside the Roman Empire. Nubia, encompassing regions of modern-day southern Egypt and northern Sudan, also developed vibrant Christian kingdoms, most notably Nobatia, Makuria, and Alodia, which flourished from around the 6th century onwards. The earliest Christian art in Egypt is found in the catacombs of Alexandria and in the monasteries of the Egyptian desert. In Nubia, Christian art flourished in churches, painted on walls and panels. What is striking about these artistic traditions is how local aesthetics and cultural identities influenced the ways Jesus was depicted. In Egypt, early Christian art was shaped by a blend of Greco-Roman, Pharaonic, and indigenous African traditions. Early icons and frescoes from the Coptic monasteries do not present Jesus as the pale-skinned, long-haired figure familiar from later European art. Instead, Jesus is often depicted with darker skin tones, curly hair, and facial features that reflect the local populations. These images suggest a Christ who was not remote or foreign, but intimately connected to the people and culture of Egypt. The intention was not necessarily to make a theological statement about Jesus's ethnicity, but rather to embody the Christian belief that God became incarnate for all humanity, in every land and language. In Nubia, the Christian kingdoms developed a distinctive artistic style that blended influences from Egypt and Byzantium with indigenous African traditions. The wall paintings that survive in churches, such as those at Faras, Dongola, and Old Dongola, show a remarkable diversity in the depiction of holy figures. Jesus is sometimes shown with features and complexions that would be recognized as Black or Nubian. These depictions present a Christ who is visibly African, sharing the visage of the people who worshipped him. This was not accidental. It reflected the Nubian sense of identity and their understanding of Christianity as a faith that belonged to them, not simply a foreign import. The famous wall paintings from the cathedral at Faras, now housed in the National Museum in Warsaw and the Sudan National Museum, include some of the most vivid and beautiful Christian art from ancient Nubia. In these works, Christ is often shown enthroned with a halo, flanked by angels and saints. His complexion varies, sometimes light, sometimes dark, but in many cases, he is depicted with the deep brown skin typical of the Nubian people. These images coexist with depictions of Nubian kings, bishops, and saints, all sharing similar features and attire, reinforcing the idea of a shared spiritual and social identity. It is crucial to understand that these depictions were not simply about physical appearance. In both Egypt and Nubia, art was a way of expressing religious experience and communal belonging. By depicting Jesus with features that mirrored their own, African Christians affirmed that Christ was present in their midst, that his message was for them, and that they were full participants in the story of salvation. The phenomenon of depicting holy figures in the likeness of local populations is not unique to Africa. Throughout the world, from Asia to the Americas, Christian communities have portrayed Jesus and the saints in ways that reflect their own cultures. In China, for example, centuries-old icons show a Christ with East Asian features. In Ethiopia, Jesus is painted with rich brown skin and African hair. This process, known as enculturation, allowed Christianity to take root in diverse societies, making the faith feel close and relevant to new converts. The later dominance of European images of Jesus, portraying him with fair skin, light hair, and European features, was a product of historical and political developments, especially following the rise of Christianity as the official religion of the Roman Empire, and later through the spread of Western colonialism. European art became the global standard, often eclipsing local traditions. Yet in Egypt and Nubia, the early artistic record stands as testament to a time when Jesus was envisioned as black, or at least as someone who shared the features and complexion of North and Northeast African people. The implications of this history are profound. They challenge the assumption that Christianity was always a European religion, or that the default image of Jesus must be European. In fact, Christianity is deeply rooted in Africa. Some of the world's oldest Christian communities are found in Egypt, Ethiopia, and Nubia. The ways these communities depicted Jesus reflect their own understanding of the faith and their place within it. Modern researchers, theologians, and artists have rediscovered and celebrated these early African images of Christ. They serve as reminders that the message of Jesus was not limited by geography or ethnicity. For African Christians today, these depictions can be empowering, reclaiming a spiritual heritage that is authentically African and affirming their place in the history of Christianity. Moreover, these images invite all Christians to reflect on the diversity of the global church and the many ways that the story of Jesus has been told and retold, pictured and imagined in every language and culture. The art of early Egypt and Nubia stands as an invitation to embrace that diversity, to see in the face of Christ the faces of all humanity. The story of Jesus in Africa is not only about art, but also about the resilience and creativity of communities who took a new faith and made it their own. The Copts of Egypt, the Christian Nubians, and the Ethiopians developed rich liturgies, theology, and art, contributing to the tapestry of global Christianity. Their images of Jesus as a black man are part of that legacy, a legacy that deserves to be remembered, studied, and cherished. In the end, the question of what Jesus looked like is less important than what these images meant to the people who created them. For the early Christians of Egypt and Nubia, to paint Jesus as one of their own was to affirm their faith, their dignity, and their place in the story of salvation. It was a powerful declaration that they too were made in the image of God, and that Christ was present in their lives, their struggles, and their hopes. By looking back at these early depictions, we gain not only a deeper understanding of history, but also a richer appreciation for the ways in which faith and culture intertwine. The Black Jesus of Egypt and Nubia reminds us that the story of Christianity is far broader, deeper, and more diverse than we often realize. It is a story that belongs to all people, everywhere, in every age. As we continue to explore and celebrate the many faces of Christ, we honor the faith and artistry of those early believers, and we embrace the full, vibrant spectrum of the human family. The history of Christian art in Egypt and Nubia is not just a matter of color or features. It is the story of how people see themselves in the divine and how the divine meets them where they are. It is a story of faith, hope, and imagination, a story that continues to inspire and challenge us today. Let us remember the Black Jesus of ancient Egypt and Nubia, not as an anomaly, but as a vital part of the tapestry of Christian history, a reminder that in every place and every time, people have sought to know and to picture the face of God, and in doing so, have revealed something of themselves, their dreams, and their deepest beliefs. And if you're still here, maybe your soul just got touched in the deepest place. At Tales of Black, every story is a ritual, a reminder that some memories are not written in books, but in bone and blood. If this story stirred something in you, share it with someone still wandering. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss what comes next. And if there's a legend, a memory, or a haunting you want told, leave it in the comments. Maybe your story is the next one summoned in the ritual.